Hello, welcome to Needful Things again. So, let's have a little fun with a hat. This is a very quick way to make a hat. What we're going to do is, it's going to be about 9 inches from the top of the crown to the rim. It's about 9 inches. Then you can fold up the bottom and have a little brim on the bottom. So the finished hat will be about 9 inches. So what we're going to do is the top part is probably, so we'll just do a chain. I think I'm going to use 2 different colors. Well, it's got to be a beginning somewhere, right? There it is. Okay. So we're going to do a slip knot. I'm just using a size 9 or an I. Susan Bates. So we're just going to chain until we get like 9 inches. Okay, so I've done 40 chains, and that's just lay down there. It's like a little. You could stretch it to 10, but it's a little past 9. But it's 40 chains. Okay. So now we're going to chain 1, and then go into the first one and do a single crochet into the next chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, and so on. $26, $27, $28, $29, $30. So we'll do 30 single crochets. You know, I like to give my work a little tug to make the stitches fall into place. 30 single crochets. You should have 10 stitches left. and I do, lucky me. And on those 10 stitches, we're just going to simply, and you know what might help you too, so you, because you could get confused. On this last, the 30th stitch here, the 30 single, number 30 on your single crochet, I just put a little stitch marker in there so I'll know that's where it is, because we're going to change stitches here. So now in the next 10 stitches, we're just going to simply do slip stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 slip stitches. Then we're going to chain 1. Okay. And turn our work. Now we're going to go back in the back loops. And do 10 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 slip stitches. Make sure you get them in there. That first row can be a nice little hussy. But she straightens herself out. Isn't that nice? So 10 slip stitches back down, the 10 you just previously made in the back loops. Mine gives me a little tug sometimes because it has that silver thread in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my stitch marker because I know that I'm back at my single crochets. Okay, so my next 30 stitches will be single crochets in the back row, all the way down the piece. Okay. So I'm just doing single crochets in the back loops. Because you have 40 stitches, you'll have 30 single crochets, and you'll always have 10 slip stitches. Then when you get to your last one, you'll chain 1 and turn your work. Okay, now we're back on this side. So we're going to, in the first stitch, we're going to single crochet back loops only, 1, 2, 3, and so on till we get to 30. Twenty, 29, and 30 single crochets. Now we're back to where we do our slip stitches, and we'll do 10 slip stitches. It'll be a little easier this time. Nine and 10 slip stitches in the back loops only. Then we'll get to the end of that, chain 1, turn your work. Here's what we're doing. Okay. Now we'll simply do our 10 slip stitches in the back loops only. There's our 10 slip stitches in the back loops only. Now we'll do our 30 single crochets in the back loops only. Now if you do want to change colors, and have stripes perhaps, or some other pattern or design, you just, with the beginning of the 30 crochets on this end would be the end that you would attach your different color to. So we'll keep doing that. Single crochets to the end of this row, and then I'll show you how to attach the second color if you choose to do that. Whoops, that's my timer. Or is it my 1940s telephone? You decide. So I'm coming to the end of the row of 30 single crochets, and if you want to change your color when you get to this last stitch, just pull in your new color. I usually just hold a tail of it and go ahead and go into the back loop, pull up your loop for your single crochet, and you just don't finish it off with my gray color in this case. And I take my new color and just put it on the needle, or the hook, sorry, and pull it through. And then do your chain. And depending on what you're going to do with it, if you're just going to do like, you know, zippity-doo-dah row and then do another row, I wouldn't cut the other yarn. I would just keep it there and move it out of the way, like that. Okay. So then you turn your work. And if you want to take that tail up with it, you can. Right now you're going to be doing your single crochets, 30 of them. You did your chain, turned your work, and now you'll just go right up the row in the back loops, of course. Doing your 30 crochets, your single crochets. And I'm just crocheting that tail in there so I don't have to do it later. And I've changed color. And I'll just leave that tail there because, you know, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to do 2 rows of this and back to the gray. And if I do, I'll just pull it over instead of, you know, constantly cutting it off. Although you can cut it off if you feel more comfortable doing that, and then tie these in a knot at the end. So I'm just going to continue my single crochets in my new color. And whenever you want to change back to your other color or even another color, whatever your combination is, you'll do the same thing. You'll do it always on the beginning of the single crochets. And so you just continue all the way down the line with your new color, doing the same thing we did before, the single crochets, 30 of them. This hat will be about 9 inches. So that would fit a normal size head, 22 inches, 23 inches, even a little bit smaller. Unless you want it to come down to your chin. And that's not what I'm making, so. Okay. And so we just keep doing that. Working our single crochets in our new sparkly color. Sometimes I think I'm part bird. I like anything that sparkles. Birds are always attracted to things that sparkle and shine and shimmer. And I just love things that shine and shimmer and sparkle. So, whoops. Look, I'm just so into it. I just went right up into the, where I was supposed to be doing the, slip stitches. Okay, so I have one more single crochet. I just love it. I get so passionate about it, you know. So here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I always count these because I want to make sure they're always 10. And you saw how I just went zooming on up there with my single crochets. So I've got my 10. Chain 1, turn your work. Now we'll do 10 slip stitches again in the back loops only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I always count them because it's easier to count this in than to have to count the whole 30 every time, you know. So now we should have 30 single crochets in our new color. In the back loops only, we'll be doing our single crochets. And 30. Chain 1 and turn, unless you're going back to your other color, which I am going to switch back to my gray color. So in that case, I'll just pull the yarn up and pull it right into there, give that one a little tug, and do my chain 1 with my new color, give that a little tug to pull that in, and turn my work. I will keep my other color over to that side to keep it out of the way of the silver yarn. And we'll do our 30 single crochets back up this side, and then the 10 slip stitches at the end, chain 1, come back down the same way, do the same thing, and we're going to repeat this until you have about 18 inches of worked up. Maybe a little more. I'm not quite sure yet how far I'll do that, but at least get it up to about 18 inches in width. You know, that many rows up. Whoops, sorry. So there's my color change back. I'm color changing back. I only did 2 rows of the other color. And I'll change back to that again too, but I don't really have a pattern for it. I'm just doing it as I feel it. And you can do that if you like. So just continue with your single crochets in the back loops only. Remember, everything is in the back loops. All the stitches are in the back loops. So I'm getting right back up to my end of my 30 singles. I believe that was the last one. Okay, now we're going to do 10 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 10. Chain 1, turn your work. So that's what we're doing so far. This is the front of your work, this is the back. So turn your work and do your slip stitches back down, do your 30 crochets, and continue to do that until you have about 18 inches of work, width in the pattern, 18 inches. And then I'll show you what we're going to do after that. Okay, so just continue with that. It's a lot of fun. It really is a fun way to make a hat. Okay, so I'm sailing along with my piece of work here. I'm on a single crochet row. I decided to just intersperse the other color in, no real pattern, just wherever I felt like I wanted to put it. You can do the same if you're using two different colors, or you can make it, 2 rows of this, 2 rows of that, 1 row of this, 3 rows of that, whatever. But I'm just doing it whenever I feel like changing the color, and I just change it. So that's the way it's coming out. And also what I wanted to remind you of while I'm working on this is that when you measure it, and it's going to be probably about 18 inches, and then it'll stretch a bit, and we'll see when we get to that point. So see, we're measuring it. Make sure you're measuring the wide part, not the small part here. Okay, make sure you're measuring the width on this part. Like I'm almost to 9 inches. So I'll do another section the same as this, and that'll probably be sufficient. So, yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. So just continue working on your piece, and it should be looking like this. And if it doesn't, maybe you used a different stitch. Or maybe you made a mistake and you need to figure that out. And that's okay too, because that's how you learn. So just continue doing your pattern. If you want to change your colors, just do it like I showed you earlier on in the video. And just continue working the pattern. I keep my stitch marker in there so I don't have to count my stitches, so I know that that's 30. And I have 10 slip stitches to do. So I know that these are 10 slip stitches. So I don't have to count this, chain 1 and turn my work. And I'm just working down my rows. And then I'll probably switch again. I don't know, I might do 1 row or I might do 2 or 3, I don't know. I'm just playing with the color. And also on the end here, I'm just carrying the yarn. As you can see, it's on the bottom. And that really won't matter because when we get this done, I'm going to do a little edge across the bottom, so all this will get worked in, so that's not an issue. But if you want to, like I said earlier, you can cut and tie off each row and do it that way, but I just find this is a lot better. I don't have to have so many cut and ties. And I'm going to crochet an edge over it anyway to get rid of it, so it'll work out just fine. And now we're doing our slip stitches again. Which, because I used my stitch marker, I don't have to count them. Because you think, oh, it's just 10 stitches, I can't miss that. Oh, guess what? Yes, you can. And you will. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. There's my stitch marker. Pop it out. Put in my first single crochet. Put my stitch marker in the top of it and keep on going. It's that simple. And if you want it for a smaller size, you just don't make it as wide. Or if you want it bigger, you can make it larger the same way. Or you can make one just like mine. And if you want to make it just like mine, this yarn is called, oh God, Big Twist, I think. It's from Joann's. It's just a gray with some sparkly stuff and a burgundy. It's like a burgundy. Almost a burgundy red, I guess. So I just pushed my other color to the side. And just continue on until you get to about 18 inches on the wide part. And just make sure you keep your stitches all adjusted properly. And if you use your stitch marker, sometimes even though I use a stitch marker, I'll still count the stitches just to make sure I'm keeping everything the same so it fits properly. And I hope some of you are making the video that was just recently released with my Sarancho, because that's a lot of fun too. So I just did my last stitch in my chain, and I'm turning my work. And I'm going to do this row, I think, with, I think what I'll do is turn this back around so you can see this, because I'm going to change this color. So I'm going to go back to my last stitch on my 2 loops, and then just pull up my, put this one over that way, bring this one over this way, just pull up my color, pull it through, chain 1, and turn. It's that simple. And continue on with the burgundy color. You can also do this with a chunky yarn and a larger hook for a bigger, bulkier type hat situation. And I'll just keep that one out of the way until I want it back again. You see, and I'll just run it across the bottom and then crochet it away later. So just continue doing your rows, and I'll meet back up with you when we get there. And here it is on my mannequin. It's a very quick and easy hat you can make for your friends. You can put a pom-pom on the top of it if you want to. You could roll this down a little more if you wanted to. If you wanted it smaller. She's very happy with her new hat. So I hope you enjoy this pattern. Needful things again, please like and subscribe. A lot of people who watch don't subscribe, and I really need you to subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. Have a great day. Okay, so I've reached the end of my single crochets and my stitches. So I've measured mine across, and what I have here, and it fits my head, which is not a small head, it's about 16 inches. So you can do 16 to 18 depending on what size you need for your head, but this one stretches pretty good because it's, you know, each one of these is like, looks like one row, but it's really 2, so it has some stretch. So it's 16 inches wide. And now what we're going to do is get rid of those threads on the bottom that I told you that we would get rid of. But first, we have this one hanging out here. It's a little menace. We'll just cut it. And I'm just going to put it right through here. And I'll just crochet it in. So I'm just going to chain one. I'm at the end of my rows. I did all my rows here, you see. So I'm at the end of my row here. So I'm just going to chain one. And I'm going to go across the bottom, and in each row I'm going to put one single crochet for each row. There's 6 rows here. Like that, and finish off the end of it. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to pick up all these loose threads across the bottom here that I have on the bottom, because maybe you cut yours and tied it off, but I did not. So you just have to make sure you get those in there and do one. You know, and each one of these ridges looks like one, but it's really 2 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there'll be 6 single crochets in here. Make sure you get those loose threads down there. And that's what I'm going to do all the way across the bottom. Okay. Making sure I pick up all those loose threads. Every once in a while, I'll just check to make sure. When you give it a little stretch like that, will disappear. So we're just pulling in all the threads, really, these down here at the bottom. I don't really fight with where I'm putting these. I just sort of let it guide me. My biggest concern is to hide these strings. And if I had tied them off, you would either be stitching them up in through your work, or you would still crochet the tails in. Be the easiest way. So we'll just continue to the end of our row doing the single crochets. And here's my last one. Single crochets. And we got rid of all the little strings that were at the bottom, the little threads. I have a little bit of one sticking out here, so I'll just give it a snip. And it's gone. And now I'm going to chain one, and we're going to do a reverse crochet all the way back across the row. Just to give it a nice little edge, you know, because this part you're going to roll up. So it'll just give it a nice little finish. Ooh, got enough. So just keep doing that until you get back to the end of the beginning. I know that sounds crazy, right? And I'll see you there. Okay, so I finished my row back across of my reverse crochets. Now we're going to go into those back loops and finish off with our row of single crochets across the bottom in that back loop that's left. Sorry, excuse me. I didn't have my light on. I hope you could see all that. So I'm just going to finish, because it gives it a nice finish. Oh, sorry. On the bottom. And we're doing this, we end this on the wrong side of our work. And then this will be the right side of our work. See? So we're on the back side right now. And you will be too if you just, when you finish your last row, you just kept on going with your same color. Well, you would have kept on going with whatever color, unless you made yours a little bigger. But you have to end on the bottom anyway, so. Because you'll, you know, no matter if you say you wanted to make yours 18 inches and made it a little bigger, just make sure your last row you're ending down at the bottom of your work. So that these rows of reverse crochet and single crochets end up on the right side. Okay, so we'll just finish across there. Like that, and finish your single crochets across. We're pushing that rope stitch or crab stitch, I've heard it called. I call it reverse crochet, so continue that and finish that row of singles, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished that row, and we're still on the back of our work. This is the back of the work. I put a little marker on the front so I always know which is the right side. So don't cut your yarn or anything, just make a big loop there like this so you don't lose your stitches, because we're going to do something else. And just put that yarn to the side for a second. I'm just going to use what I'm grabbing available here. So we're still on the wrong side of our work. And I'm going to cut a piece of yarn. It doesn't have to be extremely long. I like to overdo it, apparently. So I've just got a piece of yarn, it's about that long. So I'm going to take my darning needle, thread it in, and I'm just going to go right into my very first stitch. Whoops. I'm just going to leave a long tail there. Now all I'm going to do is weave in and out of every single stitch with my darning my darning needle, like so. I'm going to leave this tail here. So that's what I'm going to do across here. I'm just going to sew this in, or through the top stitches. Just go right into the loops. We're just going to do that all the way across. Then here's my last stitch over here. I'm going to make sure I get in there good. Okay. And I'm just going to leave that to the side right now. You can take your needle off if you don't want to lose it. I've just got mine laying on the table. But I'm going to pull it off of the yarn so that I don't sling it in the floor. So we'll just leave that thread there. So you have this thread all the way through like that. And it just comes out the other side like so. So we're just going to leave that alone for now. So now we're going back to where we stopped on the bottom. So put your hook back in, tighten your yarn back up. Now remember, we're on the wrong side, so we're going to bring the two wrong sides together like so. Got that? Just go right across there into that first stitch. Just come through there, pull it through. Get yourself a little single crochet there, or you can do a slip stitch if you prefer. And make sure you get into each stitch, but don't create stitches that don't exist, because that won't be very pretty. And we're just going to go up the side and go through each stitch and just stitch it up the sides. I have all these little silver threads that get caught. Sometimes I just snip them. See, we're just stitching it together. I just like to do a single crochet. It's a bit, you know, stronger. Like so. And you have to make sure that your 10, where your 10 stitches are, I have my little, that's on my last single crochet, I believe. Yeah. So that's my last single crochet. Here's my 10 slip stitches. So I'm just going to put it on the 10 slip stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10 slip stitches, so that I don't lose that place, because you need your, you know, it has to match. It's got to match up. So those are your 10 slip stitches right there. So you'll just continue to do this down to that point, making sure you're not creating stitches that don't exist. It's a very easy hat to make. I think you'll really enjoy this pattern. You can do it with all kinds of stitch pattern designs. You can make it smaller, you can make it larger. It's pretty quick, actually. It's a lot quicker than the actual video, really. But, you know, I have so much I need to show you, and I try to be as detailed as I can, because I know when I've used people's videos to try to learn things, I'm like, oh gosh. You know, so I try to do things that helped me when I was working out something. So we're coming up to our 10 stitches there, but we have a few more here. Now we're up to our slip stitches, and we're just going to single crochet right through them. Keeping all your threads out of the way. Okay, we've got one stitch left. But I just want you to pull that out like that right now. So we're going to take these two threads that we had earlier and we're just going to pull them tight. Let me try to get this out of the way. And we're just going to take those two threads that we put in the top earlier. We stopped with one stitch left at the end of that row there, and I've just pulled that loop out to make it. And just pull your threads really, really tight. As tight as you can without breaking them. You certainly don't need to break them. And just pull them really tight and hold them right here at the base. And just put a nice little tight knot right there. I'm doing more than one. And just leave that alone, get that out of the way. I'm going to do this about 4 times. So it's nice and tight. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Pull that stuff out of the way. Pull this back in. Grab my hook back up. And now there's one stitch left. And I'm going to cut my yarn. Pull this through. Pull it in tight, and I'm just going to leave those threads alone for now. And so here's what we've got. It's a hat. Now I'm going to show you. I can take my little pink thing out. And so here's the hat we just made. These are your strings inside. We'll deal with those in a minute. And so up here we have a really nice finish to the top of our hat with our slip stitches. Isn't that nice? Somewhere there's a seam in here. And there's our hat. And so you put it on, roll up the bottom. Isn't that cute? And so simple to make. And it has the beautiful tight stitches at the top that look more like knit stitches. Isn't that gorgeous? And then when you roll up the bottom, you have that nice finished edge on the outside. So it's a perfect pattern for a little hat. You can make a ball on the top if you want to. And then get rid of your threads inside. So I'm going to go back inside. Because I'm crazy, I'm just going to tie this one more time just to make sure. Then I'm going to cut these threads. I'm just going to leave these in here for now because I may put a pom-pom on the top of it. You can do that as well if you want to. But since I may wear this myself, I probably won't do a pom-pom on the top of it. And so yeah, isn't that the cutest little hat pattern? It's so simple to make. Very simple and a really beautiful hat. And I'll show it to you on my mannequin as well. Enjoy.